بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين دائما وأبدا إلى يوم الدين وبعد. Today we're covering inshallah the tafsir of Surah Al-Qadr from the tafsir of a famous scholar Ibn Juzay al-Kalbi rahimahullah ta'ala. And this particular tafsir has gained a lot of popularity as of late. For many reasons. From them, it's a simple tafsir. It's a simple tafsir compared to some of the other works that are out there. It's easy to read, and it's one of the things that I like most about it is the fact that he covers a lot of aspects to do with Arabic. He talks also about fiqh. There's some aqidah in there as well. It's a really balanced, nice tafsir that covers different things. So we're going to be reading that inshallah. And like I said, tafsir of Surah Al-Qadr. And we're going to be paying extra attention to some of the Arabic points and doing some of the Arab of that and talking about, with basically an Arabic focus on this tafsir inshallah. Okay. So without further ado, let's just start here. Okay. All right, Bismillah. So, let me get my tools here. He says, Surah Al-Qadr, إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر. Then he says, اختلف الناس في ليلة القدر على 16 قولا. Okay. اختلف الناس. So the people differed. Notice how he says الناس and doesn't say the scholars. And there's a reason for that, because some of the opinions he's going to bring are extremely weak opinions. He's just gathering everything that's been said about when Laylatul-Qadr is regardless of who is saying it. So he says اختلف الناس, the people differed. في ليلة القدر, regarding ليلة القدر, على 16 قولا. So numbers between 13 to 19 not typically, always, are مبني. Okay. على 16 قولا. This is going to be مفرد منصوب على التمييز. وهي, and then he starts listing all the opinions. Okay. The first opinion he brings is أنها ليلة 21 من رمضان. That's 21st of Ramadan. Some scholars said, or some people said, it's the 21st of Ramadan. Some people said وليلة 23, 23. Some said it was 25. Some said it was 27. And some said it was 29. وليلة 29. Okay. Let me just scroll down here. Then when he mentions these 5 opinions, he says فهذه 5 أقوال في ليالي الأوتار من العشر الأواخر من رمضان. These are 5 opinions in the odd nights. Let's start off with the word layali. Layali, you guys might have seen it written like this. Liyalin, right? Wal-fajr, walayalin ashar, right? Walayalin. So this type of noun is known as an ism المنقوص. Ism المنقوص. More popular word is something like قاضٍ. Okay. This type of noun, ism المنقوص, the ya, because there's originally a ya, well, that's a typo, sorry about that. قاضٍ. It was originally قاضي, and the ya was erased for a long reason I'm not going to get into right now, and we get قاضٍ. The ya comes back in qadi or layalin when the word is either mudaf or has an alif lam on it. Okay. So in this case, fi layali al-awtar. So layali is mudaf. So the ya is going to appear. Al-awtar is simply the plural of witr. Okay. I'm sure you've all heard of Salat al-Witr because it's an odd number. So awtar is the plural of witr. فهذه 5 أقوال في ليالي الأوتار من العشر الأواخر, from the last 10 من Ramadan. So Ramadan is ممنوع من الصرف, so it's going to be من رمضان for العلمية وزيادة ألف ونون. So whenever you have a proper noun, a name of a place or a thing or a person, and it has an extra alif noon, it's going to be ممنوع من الصرف, like عثمان, سليمان, maybe not Suleiman, but Uthman, anything with an extra alif noon at the end. من رمضان. على قول من ابتدأ عدتها من أول العشر. This is interesting. He says that all this is based on if you start your counting from the beginning, basically, of the month. So when you have 20 or 21, 23, if you're starting from the beginning, these are going to be the numbers. Then he says وقد ابتدأ بعضهم عدتها من آخر الشهر, من آخر الشهر. Some people started numbering, counting the days from the end, not from the beginning. Okay, so for them, 30 would be the first night from the end, from the back, right? So from the last 10 days, this would be the first one. He says ليلة-30 لأنها الأولى, because it's the first, right? If you're counting from the back, from the end, sorry. ليلة-30. Then he starts listing all of these opinions. If you start counting from the end, he says وليلة-28. So 8 as well is similar to ليال in that it's a ism منقوص, right? That's why you see 8 sometimes and 8, 8. Same reason that I mentioned for ليلا. وليلة-28 لأنها الثانية, because it's the second. This is actually a typo. It's not الثانية, it's الثالثة. الثالثة. Okay. So 28. So it's either, if you start counting from the end, it's going to be either 30th night, or 28th night, or 26 لأنها الخامسة, because it's the 5th night. So 26, 24, 22 لأنها التاسعة. So the typo is here. See it, 1st, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th, because we're counting odd nights, but from the end of the month. That's how some scholars looked at it. The last 10 nights, when does it start? Does it start from the beginning or from the end? Okay. So those are 10 opinions. He says, فهذه خمسة أقوال. فهذه خمسة أقوال أخر. أخر, this word أخر over here is a word that comes in the Quran. من أيام أخر. أخر is also ممنوع من الصرف. ممنوع من الصرف for الوصفية and العدل. So it's in the same category as ثلاث. الوصفية نعم والعدل. Yeah. So just like ثلاث. So ثلاث is عدولة عن ثلاثة. So similarly, أخر was originally آخر or أخرى, and أخر was formed, so it's going to be ممنوع من الصرف as well. فهذه خمسة أقوال أخر. Then he says فتلك عشرة أقوال, and those are 10 opinions. So he said he's going to mention 16. Those are the first 10. Quick summary. If you count from the front of the month, at the beginning of the month, it's either going to be the 21st, 23rd, 25th, 27th, 29th. If you're going to count from the end of the month, it's either 30th, 28th, 26th, 24th, and 22nd. So those are 10 opinions. Then he says, وَالْقَوْلِ الْحَادِي عَشَرِ, and the 11th opinion, أنها تدور في العشر الأواخر ولا تثبت في ليلة واحدة منه. أنها تدور. So this verb we have here, تدور, is from دار يدور. دار يدور. دار يدور means to circle, or even like it means to revolve around, to circle. Okay. So this is a فعل. فعل أجوف, right? فعل أجوف. So the فعل أجوف, we typically have, I'm going to write over here. We typically have قال يقول, قال يقول, or we have باع يبيع, باع يبيع, باع يبيع, or خاف يخاف, خاف يخاف. Okay. So my advice for students when they're learning Sarf, for the hollow verb and the defective and the assimilated verb, the الناقص and the أجوف and the مثال, let's just stick with the hollow verbs for now. Most of the verbs, hollow verbs in the Arabic language, are going to fit into one of these three categories. Either it's like قال يقول, or it's like باع يبيع, or it's like خاف يخاف. So all you have to do is memorize how these three work. Learn the past tense, present tense, command, how it looks like when there's a first person in the past tense. For example, is it قلت, or is it قلت, is it بعت, or is it بعت, is it خفت, or is it خفت? So learn all those. اسم فاعل for all these are actually going to be the same. The اسم مفعول is for some of them they're the same, some of them they're different. So all you have to do basically just learn those three patterns, templates very well, and any verb that you're going to learn is going to be plugged into those, one of those three. So in this case, دار يدور is exactly قال يقول. قال يقول دار يدور. So he says here أنها تدور في العشر الأواخر, that it revolves around the last 10 days. Last 10. ولا تثبت في ليلة واحدة منه. And it's not firm, or it's not fixed. It's not fixed to one specific night. So according to this opinion, Laylatul-Qadr could be the 21st night, 1 year. The next year it could be the 25th. The next year it could be the 27th. It can move around. Okay. Then he says الثاني عشر, the 12th opinion, أنها مخفية في رمضان كله. So we have Ramadan here, ممنوع من الصرف as well. That's why it's في رمضان. But I want to talk about this word right here. خافة or مخفية. مخفية. So مخفية, I want to quickly just talk about the فعل ناقص. So the فعل ناقص is the verb that its last letter, the last radical, is a weak letter. So similar to how I said there's قال يقول باع يبيع خاف يخاف. Similarly for the defective verbs, the فعل ناقص, we have three forms that are the most popular. We have, let's see if I can remember here, دعا يدعو, and we have بنى يبني, and we have رضي يرضى, رضي. I'm going to move that over in a moment. Sorry guys, sorry. Let me move this over here. Okay. So we have دعا يدعو, بنى يبني, رضي يرضى. Okay. So these are, let me get my pointer here, past tense, present tense. Okay. The اسم فاعل, the اسم مفعول for something like دعا يدعو is going to be مدعو. Okay. دعا يدعو مدعوا would be the اسم مفعول. For بنى يبني is going to be مبني. Okay. مبني. And the اسم مفعول for رضي يرضى is going to be مرضي. مرضي. Okay. All right. مرضي. So we have دعا يدعو, anything like that. So again, you're just going to memorize all these patterns, okay? And then you're going to plug in anything that resembles that. So for example, دعا يدعو محا يمحو. محا يمحو. Right? محا يمحو would be محا يمحو would be ممحوا. Yeah. بنى يبني مبني, etc. So in this case, we have خفي يخفى. خفي يخفى. So this word right here comes from خفية, which means to be hidden. خفي خفية. And it's just like رضي يرضى. So the مضارع is going to be, let me just not bother writing by hand because that's so ugly. We're going to get يخفى. يخفى. Okay? يخفى is the مضارع. Past tense خفية يخفى, just like رضي يرضى. So the اسم مفعول of خفي يخفى, if you memorize all these three right here, right? And you know that خفية resembles رضية, you can automatically just know what the اسم مفعول is going to be. So in this case, مرضي مخفي. We're going to have to give مخفي a تا مربوطة because we're describing Laylatul-Qadr. Well, Layla is feminine. So أنها مخفية. So خفية يخفى, to be hidden. مخفي means the thing that's actually hidden. So أنها مخفية, that it's hidden في رمضان كله. All of Ramadan. So it's hidden in all of Ramadan. Okay? So, inshallah, that's clear. Now, when we look at Ramadana, when people see a fatha, they automatically assume the word is mansub. It's not mansub. This is actually majroor. It is majroor. It's just mamnu' min as-sarf is going to take a fatha instead of a kasra. Now, does that mean that you're going to assume it's majroor? No. Like I said, it is majroor. Now, kullihi, this is tawkid. It's emphasis, emphasizing. Tawkid follows the i'rab of the thing that you're emphasizing. So, even though Ramadan has a fatha, you're going to give kullihi a kasra. Why? Because you're following not the harakat. Don't look at the harakat, you look at the i'rab of the thing. So Ramadan is majroor. So kullihi is going to also be majroor. إنها مخفية في رمضان كله. وهذا ضعيف. And this is weak. This is a weak opinion. لقوله صلى الله عليه وسلم التمسوها في العشر الأواخر. التمسوها. التمسوا is a command from, I'm going to clear the screen because I'm running out of space here. Okay. التمسوها comes from lamasa. And this is on pattern 8. Iltamasa. What happens is whenever you have something that's on pattern 8, Roman numeral 8, right? It'll, and if it starts with a lam, right? Students, when they see this, they think this is a noun. When they go to read this word, they say atamsuha, and they get confused. This is iltamisuha. Okay, it's lamasa on pattern 8, which is iltamasa. Mudara is going to be iltamisu. The command is iltamis. So we have iltamis originally, but here we're commanding, the command is to a group of people, iltamisuha. Now, if you were to write iltamisu by itself, you would write iltamisu with that alif al-fariqa. The alif that is a silent alif, you're going to write that always at the end of the verb. Okay. But when you attach a pronoun to a verb that has that alif, you're going to erase it. Iltamisuha, so seek it out, search for it, look for it, referring to Laylatul-Qadr. Fil ashri al-awakhir, in the last 10. In the last 10 nights, obviously. It's Laylatul-Qadr, right? Layla, it's a night. Okay, so that's that. All right, then we continue here and he says, الثالث عشر أنها مخفية في العام كله. So that's hidden with the same مخفية, same word. في العام كله, in the entire year. And this is obviously an extremely weak opinion. And again, this is why I mentioned at the beginning, he says الناس, اختلف الناس, the people differed. He's just including everything that's been said about Laylatul-Qadr. And he's going to explain why that's not correct at all in a moment. He says أنها مخفية في العام كل عام means year, in the entire year. So it could be 7th of Shawwal. It could be 13th of Rajab. It could be anything. Just it rotates, or it's just hidden throughout the year. الرابع عشر أنها ليلة النصف من شعبان. So another opinion is that it's the 15th of Sha'ban. Nisf, half night, meaning halfway through Sha'ban, meaning the 15th of Sha'ban. Then he refutes these last two opinions and says, وَهَذَانِ الْقَوْلَانِ, and these two opinions, بَاطِلَانِ, are false. They're incorrect, completely false. Why? لِأَنَّ اللَّهَ تعالى, because Allah, the Most High, said, إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَاهُ فِي لَيْلَةِ الْقَدْرِ. And he said, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. So the first verse is saying, we have sent it down in the night of Laylatul-Qadr. We sent it down, referring to the Quran. We sent the Quran down in Laylatul-Qadr. The second verse is saying, شهر رمضان, the month of Ramadan, which we sent the Quran down in it. You put those two together, فدل ذلك على أن ليلة القدر في رمضان. We can conclude that Laylatul-Qadr is in Ramadan. What he's doing here is a type of qiyas. And when you study logic, this is what's known as a shakl al-thalith. A shakl al-thalith. Okay. In English, they would call this, I believe, third figure. The third figure. Let's just say third figure. Third figure. Okay. I'm going to give you examples. Don't worry. لا تقلقوا. Okay. So what we have here is the Quran was revealed in Ramadan. Okay. I'm going to have to make my font. No, I might not have to. Just bear with me here. Bear with me. I think I can get away with making it. Sorry. That might work. Okay. The Quran was revealed in not Ramadan, sorry. Laylatul-Qadr. Let me just say Laylatul-Qadr, okay? And the next verse is saying the Quran was revealed in Ramadan. The Quran was revealed in Ramadan. I apologize. What is going on? Okay. When you look at these two sentences, you can conclude that Laylatul-Qadr is in Ramadan. Okay. This is known as a shakl al-thalith, that when you are I think they call it awsat, if my memory serves me correctly. Al-awsat is in your subject in both premises, like both parts of your sentences here. If it's the same, if they're both at the subject position, this is known as the الشكل الثالث. Let me give you another example. If I said to you, some men are funny, for example, and if I said, every man is a animal, every man is an animal, we can conclude with something like this, or this such with the syllogism, we can conclude what? Therefore, some animals are funny, right? Some animals are funny. We can make that conclusion. So that's pretty much what he's saying here. This is الشكل من الشكل الثالث. So in English they call it third figure. In Arabic and logic, this is called الشكل الثالث. So here he's saying فدل ذلك على أن ليلة القدر في رمضان. So if that's the case, then the third opinion and fourth opinion are completely false. Okay. Again, this is all studied in المنطق, in the study of logic. Then he says القول الخامس عشر القول الخامس عشر أنها رفعت بعد النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وهذا ضعيف. So رفع means to raise, to lift, but it also means to disappear. So رفع, it was disappeared. So the 15th opinion is that Laylatul-Qadr no longer exists after the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away. It disappeared. It was removed. So we don't have it anymore. So that's an opinion. And Ibn Juzay rahimahullah says وهذا ضعيف. Okay. Then he says القول السادس عشر, and this is the last one he's going to mention. He only mentioned 16. Other scholars have mentioned more. I know Shokani rahimahullah in his Laylatul-Qadr, if I'm not mistaken, mentions 30 something opinions. So there are a lot of opinions out there. Some of them are stronger than others, obviously. القول السادس عشر أنها ليلة سبع عشرة من رمضان. So the next opinion is that it's the 17th night of Ramadan لأن وقعة بدر كانت صبيحة هذه الليلة. So 17th of Ramadan is the next opinion he mentioned, or the last one, because Badr, the event of the Battle of Badr, waqa'a means battle. Waqa'a, the plural of it is waqa'at. Of Badr was in the early mornings of the early part, the dawn, basically, the early parts of this day. So as an opinion, he's saying that 17th of Ramadan is one of the opinions. Okay. Then he says, وَأَرْجَحُ الْأَقْوَالِ. أرجح اسم تفضيل, this is a comparative now, superlative. He's saying that the strongest opinion, أرجح الأقوال, the strongest of these opinions, أنها ليلة 21 من رمضان أو ليلة 23 أو ليلة 27. That the strongest opinion is that it's either the 21st night or the 23rd night or the 27th night. فقد جاءت في هذه الليالي الثلاث أحاديث صحيحة خرجها مسلم وغيره. فقد جاءت في هذه الليالي. So here layali comes up again. And here the ya is here. Remember I mentioned earlier, the ya is going to come out in words like qadin and da'in and these kind of words, if there's alif lam or if it's mudaf. فقد جاءت في هذه الليالي, so it's alif lam, so you're going to see the ya there. الثلاث, these 3 nights. أحاديث صحيحة. So there are authentic hadith that have come, جاءت, regarding these 3 nights. فقد جاءت في هذه الليالي الثلاث أحاديث صحيحة خرجها مسلم. So ahadith is a plural of hadith, obviously, and hadith is ممنوع من الصرف. Ahadith, the plural, is ممنوع من الصرف. So a quick, I guess, rule of thumb is that whenever you see a broken plural with an alif in the middle and 2 or 3 letters following it, right? It's going to be mamnu' min as-sarf. Some people try to simplify it and they say any pattern, any broken plural on the pattern mafa'il or mafa'il. Some people try to simplify it, but that's not 100% accurate, because masajid, yes, masajid is mamnu' min as-sarf. Masajid is on the pattern mafa'il, but ahadith is also mamnu' min as-sarf, and it's not on the pattern mafa'il, the sarfi pattern, because there's a whole discussion about what's meant by pattern. But so the easier rule, the easier way to look at it is, instead of memorizing what patterns it is, just anything with an alif in the middle and 2 to 3 letters after that. So here ahadith is going to be mamnu' min as-sarf. Now it is the subject, so faja'at ahadith. So the one doing the maji'ah, the one that's coming, is the ahadith. So it's going to be 1 dhamma. فقد جاءت في هذه الليالي الثلاث أحاديث صحيحة. So صحيحة is the sifa for ahadith, and because ahadith is a broken plural, grammatically speaking, it's a single feminine singular. So you're going to have to add a ta there. صحيحة خرجها. Okay. خرج means to report it. So it is also going back to ahadith, because broken plural, single female, right? خرجها Muslim. So Imam Muslim reported them. Ha. وغيره, and other than him. Okay. So he's saying here فقد جاءت في هذه الليالي الثلاث أحاديث صحيحة خرجها مسلم وغيره. So Muslim and others reported that hadith. So if we come down, scroll down here to the, what does he say? خرجها مسلم, أخرجها مسلم. And أخرج and خرج are synonymous. You can say خرج or أخرج, either pattern 2 or pattern 4. They are synonymous. طيب. Then he says والأشهر. والأشهر, the more popular opinion. So he gave you what he believes is the strongest opinion. Then he tells you the most popular opinion, and that's still the most popular opinion today. And just because something's popular doesn't necessarily mean it's correct, right? والأشهر أنها ليلة 27, the 27th night. That's the more popular opinion. Okay. All right. Then he actually starts the tafsir. He says, بعد نعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر. He says الضمير في أنزلناه للقرآن. The surah is starting off with إنا أنزلناه. Indeed, we sent it down. We revealed it in Laylatul-Qadr. It. So الضمير, the pronoun in أنزلناه, is for the Quran, obviously. Okay. دل على ذلك سياق الكلام. We know that through سياق الكلام, the context. Okay. The thing about pronouns here is pronouns, a lot of scholars spent a lot of time on pronouns in the Quran. Okay. As-Suyuti rahimahullah in Al-Itqan, when he starts talking about a chapter he has on pronouns, or a section he has on pronouns, he says that there was a scholar named Ibn al-Ambari that had an entire book on the pronouns in the Quran, and it was 2 volumes. 2 volumes. A lot of attention is given to the pronouns in the Quran. First of all, let's talk about why pronouns even exist. Why do we even have pronouns? The fa'idah of pronouns is ikhtisar, to make speech, I guess, more brief, summarized, shorter, right? If I told you a story and I said John woke up, John went to the store, then John bought a car, then John, you'd say, why you keep saying John, right? Typically, you mention the name at the beginning, and then every time you refer back to that person, you use a pronoun, right? So that's think of that as like the default. Anytime that doesn't happen, there's a hikmah that's going to happen. There's a wisdom for why that happens. Okay. So in this case, what we have is the pronoun being used and the ism dhahir not being used. So ism dhahir is the explicit noun. So in the case of Khalid and he, the huwa would be the dhamir. Khalid is ism dhahir. So the opposite of a dhamir basically is ism dhahir. Okay. So he says here, وفي ذلك تعظيم للقرآن من ثلاثة أوجه. That this is exalting the Quran from three angles, three perspectives, three ways. This أنزلناه, and using the pronoun instead of the ism dhahir, is exalting the Quran and magnifying it. Okay. أحدها, so three ways that does that is أحدها أنه ذكر ضميره, that he mentioned its ضمير دون اسمه الظاهر, without mentioning the explicit noun, دلالة على شهرته والاستغناء عن تسميته, showing its shuhra, its popularity, how well known it is in the hearts of the believers, and suffices with that over mentioning its name. He didn't have to. Inna anzalnahu, it's sufficient. The who is sufficient, that you know what's being discussed. Okay. Then he says, before I mention the second and third, let's just talk a little bit about the Arabic here. He says, أنه ذكر ضميره دون اسمه الظاهر دلالة على شهرته والاستغناء. الاستغناء comes from sorry, one second here. Okay. So غنية on pattern number 10, Roman numeral X, looks like this. استغنى. Okay. استغنى. The مضارع of استغنى, and this is a فعل ناقص. This is a defective verb on pattern 10. So if you took دعا and put it on pattern 10, it'd be استدعى, right? Now, استغنى, the مضارع is going to be يستغني. And for patterns, for the defective verb, for the فعل ناقص, patterns 4, for example, ألقى يلقي, patterns 8, let me go in order. Pattern 4, ألقى يلقي. Pattern 7, which is in لقى, let's just say. Pattern 8, التقى. And pattern 10, استلقى. For these, what do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, right? For these 4, the masdar, the last letter is going to change to a hamza. Let me write those out. So we have, for example, alqa, yulqi, right? Yulqi. And then we have, I'm not even sure if this is a real word, to be honest with you, but it'll work with us. It'll work for sarf reasons. In laqa, if anyone can remember a word that's fi'l naqis on pattern 7, let me know. In laqa. let's just continue here. Yan. And then we have iltaqa, taqa, yaltaqi. And then we have istalqa, talqa, yastalqi, yastalqi. For all of these, the mudari, sorry, the masdar for all of these is going to be something like this. Ilqa'un. Okay. For the second one, it's going to be in. Okay. And then we have iltiqa'un. You might have heard of iltiqa sakinain. That's where it comes from. And then we have istilqa. Okay. So for the fi'l naqis, and similarly the fi'l lafif, both lafifs, the masdar for pattern 4, 7, 8, and 10, in the masdar, you're going to have a hamza and not the waw. Because it was originally what? Alqa yulqi ilqayun. In laqa yanlaqi in liqa'un. Sorry, yun, etc. Okay, but it changes to hamza. So here al-istighna is from istaghna yastaghni istighna'un. Okay. طيب, then we have عن تسميتي. عن تسميتي. So tasmiya is from samma yusammi. So the same fi'l naqis that we're looking at, when it's on pattern 2, samma yusammi, the masdar is not going to be taf'il, like kharraj yukharriju takhrij, right? It's not going to be like that. It's going to be tasmiya. Okay, tasmiya. عن تسميتي. طيب الثاني, let's continue. الثاني أنه اختار لإنزاله أفضل الأوقات, that he chose for the inzal of the Quran the best of times. إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر, praising the Quran. Second way he's praising the Quran is that he chose the best time to make that revelation. Laylatul-Qadr. Let's look at the Arabic now. أنه اختار, he chose. اختار. Similarly, احتاج. This is a hollow verb, right? On pattern 8. Pattern 8. اختار يختار. اختار يختار. احتاج يحتاج. And the interesting thing about this pattern is that the ism fa'al and the ism maf'ul are both the exact same. So mukhtar could be the ism fa'al and it could also be the ism maf'ul. Whereas istaghna yastaghni is mustaghnin and mustaghnan. Over here it's mukhtar. How do you know? Context would tell you the difference between ism fa'al and ism maf'ul. أنه اختار لإنزال. So inzal is obviously the masdar of أنزل ينزل pattern 4 for its revelation, the who going back to the Quran. أفضل is the مفعول به for اختار. أنه اختار لإنزاله أفضل الأوقات, the best of times. الثالث, third reason or third way he's praising Allah's doing تعظيم in the Quran here, is أن الله أسند إنزاله إلى نفسه. Just the fact that Allah أسند. So أسند means to ascribe or to attach something to something else, right? The inzal, the revelation to himself. Inna anzalnahu. Inna. So we, right, reveal the Quran. The fact that Allah is the one doing it is ta'zeem of the Quran as well. Or ta'zeem for the Quran as well. أن الله أسند إنزاله إلى نفسه, to himself. وفي كيفية إنزاله في ليلة القدر قولان. He says رحمه الله وفي كيفية. كيفية is pretty much a word derived from kaifa. Kaifa means how. Kaifiya is manner or nature. So the kaifness, if you will, right? وفي كيفية إنزاله, in the manner in how basically the Quran was revealed in Laylatul-Qadr qawlani. Two opinions. Qawlani. So this is actually your mubtada. This is actually your mubtada, right? So the sentence was originally qawlani fi kayfiyat inzalihi fi laylatul qadr, but because the mubtada is nakira, you have to push it over to the end and start with your harf jar. وفي كيفية إنزاله في ليلة القدر قولان. Now, how you translate that would just be there are. So whenever something like that happens, you'd say there are. So if I said to you, في المدرسة رجل, some people, what happens with people learning Arabic is that they feel like they have to follow that exact order. So they say, in the school, في المدرسة رجل. In the school, a man. Like, are you speaking caveman language? Like what language is that, right? So you're going to say there is a man in the school. So you can be flexible. You can move the subject back to where it was supposed to be, right? So does that mean that every time, sorry, does that mean that if the mubtada is not ma'rifa, you have to push it over? No. There are, many musawirat, they're called, للابتداء, many reasons as to why or how or when you're allowed to have a mubtada that's nakira. There are many reasons or many circumstances when you can have the mubtada nakira. That's not today's lesson. Yeah. طيب. So the issue here now is, we know the Quran from Sirah was revealed over a long duration, 20 years the Quran was revealed. But then the ayah is saying, Inna anzalnahu fi Laylatul-Qadr, that the Quran was revealed in Laylatul-Qadr. So it seems like a bit of a contradiction. So he's going to answer that now by saying, أحدهما, so one of those two opinions, أنه ابتدأ إنزاله في, أنه ابتدأ, from بدأ on pattern 8, that he started its revelation in it. So إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر would mean that Allah started, right, the revelation in Laylatul Qadr. That's the first opinion. والآخر أنه أنزل القرآن فيها جملة واحدة إلى السماء ثم نزل به جبريل إلى الأرض بطول 20 سنة. So the second opinion is that the entire Quran came down جملة واحدة. So we have that expression being used as well. وقال الذين كفروا لولا نزل عليه القرآن جملة واحدة. Right? So جملة واحدة means basically in one go. In one go. Right? So in Surah Al-Furqan, Allah says that, and those who disbelieve say, why wasn't the Quran revealed in one go? Why is it being done munajjaman, like in parts, right? So جملة واحدة. أنه أنزل القرآن فيها جملة واحدة إلى السماء. So the second opinion here is that the Quran was descended or was revealed to the lowest heavens, or to the heavens, on Laylatul Qadr, and then Jibreel took it basically piece by piece to إلى الأرض over 20 years. Okay. Almost done here. I just want to finish a little bit more, inshallah. And then he says, وقيل المعنى أنزلناه في شأن ليلة القدر وذكرها وهذا ضعيف. إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر. So what he's explaining here is basically the fee. He's talking about the fee in إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر. Fee, its original meaning, the original primary, I guess we can say, meaning of fee is ظرفية, like in, something is in something. القلم في جيبي, the pen is in my pocket, right? حقيقة, like literally. Now, what we've mentioned previously, so إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَاهُ فِي لَيْلَةِ الْقَدْر, the Quran being revealed in Laylatul Qadr, that's in Laylatul Qadr, not a physical in Laylatul Qadr, but a majazan, in a majazi way. It's dharfiyah. Okay. Now, another opinion is that fi here is ta'liliyah, not dharfiyah, meaning because of, regarding. Okay. So this opinion is saying that the Quran, inna anzalnahu, we sent it down fi sha'ni Laylatul Qadr. Because of Laylatul Qadr and the importance of Laylatul Qadr, we sent down the Quran. Okay, and he says this is a weak opinion. Now, I just want to quickly chat about that fi. We have a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said, "Udhibat." I'll just say the hadith. I'm not going to write it. It says, "Udhibat imra'atun fi hirra." Famous hadith that I'm sure most of you have heard. عذبت امرأة في هرة أمسكتها حتى ماتت من الجوع. Hadith muttafaq alayh, reported by Bukhari and Muslim, that a woman عذبت عذب يعذب, to punish. عذبت امرأة, a woman was punished. في هرة. Is that saying that there was a cat, a big cat, and a woman was punished inside of a cat? No, obviously not. Fi hirra, because of a hirra, right? What did she do with this cat? Sorry, what did she do with this cat? She held it captive. She prevented it from eating, basically, until the cat died, and this is why this woman was punished. So fi hirra means like because of, regarding a cat. So inna anzalnahu, we revealed the Quran fi sha'ni Laylatul Qadr, because of Laylatul Qadr. Okay. And that, like I said, like the author says, is a weak opinion. Then he says, وَسُمِّيَتْ لَيْلَةُ الْقَدْر. So I didn't mention, so tasmiyah is the masdar, tasmiyah, from samma yusammi. He's saying here, وَسُمِّيَتْ. So samma yusammi is to name something. سَمَّيْتُهَا Maryam. Samma yusammi has two maf'uls. So verbs in Arabic language either have no objects, such as nama, istayqadha, right? All these dhahaba, these don't have any objects, or you can have one object, like daraba, darabtu zaydan, one object, I hit Zayd. Or you have some verbs that have two objects. You can even have three as well. So two objects, sammaytuhu Khalidan. I named him Khalid. So sammaytuhu Khalidan. So these are both maf'ul, these are both objects. So here, this is the passive voice. So in the passive voice, you're going to lose an object. Darabtu Khalidan, duriba Khalidun. Khalidan, Khalid was the object and it was mansub in the active voice. In the passive voice, it becomes marfu', na'ib, fa'id, that deputy or that substitute sort of fa'id, and it takes its grammatical position, which is a-raf. This is وَسُمِّيَتْ. So what is this? What's the na'ib fa'il here? Layla. Or it was called basically Laylatul-Qadr. So this was your second object. Now it's your only object. وَسُمِّيَتْ Laylatul-Qadr. It was called Laylatul-Qadr, right? Min taqdir al-umur. So qadr, is one of those words that if you look up Hansware or Lane's Lexicon, any of those dictionaries, you're going to find a lot of meanings for the word qadr. A lot of meanings for the word qadr. So let's start. He says here, it was called Laylatul-Qadr min taqdir al-umur. From qaddar yuqaddiru, taqdir, decree of affairs. Affairs being decreed. Fiha, in Laylatul-Qadr. So all matters are decreed in that night. So that's why some translations you might have heard Laylatul-Qadr, the night of decree. Right? So min taqdir al-umur fiha. So the word umur is a little bit interesting. Umur, we have the plural, umur is the plural of amr. Amr, okay? Amr has two plurals depending on which meaning of amr, okay? So amr, there's amr with the meaning of matter or issue or affair, and that is umur. Amr, umur is the broken plural. Or if you want amr, like Allah ordered us, amran Allah, Allah ordered us, the plural for that is awamir. Awamir. Amr, awamir. Okay. This is interesting. There aren't too many examples of this, but another common one is the word bait. Bait, right? Which means house. And depending on which meaning, do you want the meaning of house or do you want the meaning of a line of poetry? Right? If you have a line of poetry, that's called a bait, right? So the physical bait, the house is buyut, buyut. And the meaning of the plural of bait with the meaning of a line of poetry is abiyat. Buyut and abiyat. Okay. And this doesn't happen too often, but it is interesting. So he says وسميت ليلة القدر من تقدير الأمور فيها, from تقدير الأمور, matters and things basically being decreed. Okay. Things being decreed. طيب. Then he says أو من القدر بمعنى الشرف. So like I mentioned, Qadr has a lot of meanings in the Arabic language. Qadr has a lot of meanings in the Arabic language. So the first one he mentions is decreeing of affairs. Second opinion as to why it's called Laylatul-Qadr is that from Qadr with the meaning of sharaf. Like if you say, so it comes from the verb qadura, aduma or sharufa. The meaning is, like you say, for example, someone dhu qadr, like he has status, he has a position, he has, he's a noble nobility. So qadr with that meaning, the meaning of sharaf. Okay. And there's some talk about whether this even exists in the Arabic language, if that really is one of the meanings of qadr, but that's not today's lesson. But if you're going to take this meaning, then when you say Laylatul-Qadr, the alif lam on Laylatul-Qadr with this meaning of sharaf is one of the types of jinsiyah. So there's alif lam, what's known as alif lam ahdiyah, alif lam jinsiyah, right? Different types or different meanings that we can get from al, or different meanings of al. This one in particular, I'm not going to mention all of them right now, would be al-jinsiyah. Al-jinsiyah, what do they call it? Jinsiyah. نعم للمبالغة والكمال. So what does this mean? I'll give you an example in English. If I said to you, Khalid is the man. He's the man. The man, right? What does that mean? All characteristics of manhood are found in this person. Like the complete man, for example. Or I'm trying to give a sports example, but I'm not really too good at that. Plus, I'm not trying to get anyone upset if I mention the wrong player. So in the Quran, though, we have, this is one of the tafsirs of Alif Lam Mim ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه. More commonly, what do we hear? ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه. Like this book or that book, this book, there is no doubt in this book. The Alif Lam on Al-Kitab, if you understand it with this understanding, this للجنسية للمبالغة والكمال, then the meaning would be ذلك الكتاب, that or this is the book. Capital T, capital H, capital E, the book, period. لا ريب فيه, new sentence. That is the book. Everything else you're looking at, those aren't really books. This is the book. So that's what he's referring to here. That's how we would understand the alif lam in al-qadr if we took it to mean الشرف. وسميت ليلة القدر من تقدير الأمور فيها أو من القدر بمعنى الشرف. طيب. ثم قال رحمه الله تعالى: ويترجح الأول بقوله فيها يفرق كل أمر حكيم. Let me just see how much we have left here. طيب. I think we'll, what time is it? I think we'll stop there inshallah. And we'll continue tomorrow. صلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.